Moving on to JavaScript functions. So here we're going to talk about functions. And again, functions are pretty much similar across the board in many programming languages. They might have different names or different syntax, but the idea is still the same. So in JavaScript, a function is simply a block of code that's designed or built to perform a specific task. And a JavaScript function runs when it's invoked at some point in your script, your program, or your website, kind of like when a user clicks a link or hovers over a section of your website or submits a form, so on and so forth. So create a functions.html file, add basic HTML here, and a script tag so we can just kind of work with some internal JavaScript. Again, like in the last lecture, if you want, you can use your external JavaScript file so long as you add a script and you link it up in your HTML so that it will display in the browser. Now, in terms of the syntax of a function, a JavaScript function is defined within with a function keyword followed by name and then followed by parentheses. So it would kind of look like so. Function, and then your custom name, whatever you want here, and then parentheses, and then followed by curly braces. Now, there are a few different things here. So we have you have to define function, the keyword here, and then your custom name, and the custom name uses the same conventions as variables. So letters, digits, underscores, dollar signs. You can't use certain keywords because it might conflict with JavaScript, but you can use pretty much what you want so long as it sticks within those rules. And then you have the parentheses, and in the parentheses you include what are called parameters. You can have one parameter or multiple parameters as long as they're separated by comma. So like so, x, y, z. And here we have 3 parameters. And so basically in the function, when you are calling a function, the custom name function, it's going to look for these parameters to be filled by data that you enter or the script enters. And we'll get to there in a moment. And within the curly braces, this is where you run code. So when you call a function and you provide the parameter data, it will run what's in here. And so why would you use a function? Well, you'd use a function to create a piece of code that you want to run at different times throughout your program without having to code it every single time. So it's kind of like recycling. You're literally reusing the same snippet of code multiple times. So you don't have to rewrite it every single time over and over again. And so how does a function actually work? Well, let's try a practical example here using this basic syntax. What if we were to calculate how old you were in dog years, or how old a user was in dog years? Well, let's check this out. So let's change the custom name to dog years. And for parameters, I'm just going to add one parameter. And I'm going to call it your age. And it could be, you could put whatever you want here. It's almost like a variable. It's kind of acts like a variable. So this parameter, you give it a name. And so I'm going to call this parameter your age, which means the function is going to look for your age in order to run this code. And in here, we are going to say return, and then in parentheses, and then a semicolon afterwards, we're going to say your age. So it's going to look for your age because this is going to be filled with data multiplied by 7. So a very simple function. Now return tells the function to stop running after it's finished executing the code. So you can have lots of different things happening, before the return, but then the return, this last statement here says, hey, we're done executing the code. Go ahead and kill the function. It's done. And obviously it doesn't kill it forever. You can use it multiple times, but it stops running the function so it doesn't run forever. So basically now we can play with this function kind of like so. So we have the function up here to use whenever we want. It's not going to run. It can't run until we invoke the function or call it. And we call it using something like this. So document.write, and right now I'm using document.write. I could use alert, I could use inner HTML, I could use whatever I want here, but I'm just going to use document.write because it's simple. And I'd invoke the function. I'm going to say if you were a dog, you'd be, and I'm going to put a space, close that string, and I'm going to concatenate dog years. So here's the function. Do you see that? And I'm going to finish it by saying space years old. Okay. So right here I have some text. Basically, I didn't have to add the text. I could have just done something like this, and it will just write the dog years if I add a parameter here. But I wanted to add some text to make it a little bit more realistic, more practical of an example. So here we have, if you were a dog, you'd be, and then I'm closing the string, concatenating dog years, concatenating years old. So in here, I need to add a number that it's going to perform within the function. So because right now it won't do anything because there's no age to perform math with. It will just be a dead value. It will be an error. It won't work. So in here is where I put the actual a number for it to work with. So let's say 26. So if you were a dog, you'd be dog years, perform the calculation with 26 that we have set up in here, and it should show up in your browser. So let's see what happens. If you were a dog, you'd be 182 years old. So there you go. You see how that worked? This number is different from what I put in here. I put dog years and 26. So it actually performed the calculation. It said dog years. Now it grabbed whatever I put in the parentheses up here in the parameter. So now it says your age is okay. Your age is 26. Now return your age, which is 26 times 7. So 26 times 7, and then return that value right here. And now it says if you were a dog, you'd be 182 years old. Now you can actually use functions and add functions to variables as well. And you'd want to do this for efficiency and keep things clean. So you can kind of do something like this. So var age, let's say we wanted the age, we could do 26 again. And var dog, so I'm using variables here. And this is where we're going to add the function. I'm going to call the function dog years. And in here, I'm going to put age. So now you see how that works? I stored the number 26 in the variable called age. And then I created a new variable called dog, which stores the value of the function call. And in here, instead of writing 26, I'm putting the value of this variable. I'm putting this variable. And so now what we can do is we can copy this here. I'm going to comment this out. And I'm going to say, if you were a dog, you'd be, and instead of writing the function call, I'm going to say dog. So now it's calling the variable dog. So let's see what happens. Again, it works. So, I mean, it didn't change because it's the same. Why don't we change the value just as proof? Let's say you were 12 years old. 84. You'd be 84-year-old dog. So you can see how that works there. And so that's how you can you could do that for efficiency and play around with functions a bit more. So yeah, that's kind of the introduction basic idea of functions. Functions are very similar across the board with different programming languages. We're going to be using functions throughout the rest of the section here. So fear not, and I'll provide lots of resources for you for further learning if you want to become a super JavaScript master.